Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. And I can see some of you from different parts of the world. It's very nice. Lots of comments dropping in, largely about the weather, which is always interesting. So let's just sort of say what we're doing this week. It is This Week in WordPress number 367. I feel that's the wrong number, but let's go with that. That's what I wrote down. 367. It is Monday, the 23rd of February. We'll be repackaging this as an episode. It'll come out into your podcast player of choice tomorrow morning at the highly unusual 7 a.m. in the UK. I don't know why I picked that, but I picked it and thought I'm sticking to it. I'm being consistent. So it's gone out at 7 o'clock in the morning in the UK for about 8 years or so. No reason, but at least it's there when you wake up, depending on where you are. The idea is to talk about WordPress, but increasingly we end up talking about all sorts of different things. And I think there'll be quite a lot of security stuff, possibly AI. Well, I say possibly AI stuff. It's mostly AI stuff these days. There's no oxygen left in the room. But in order to make that happen, I'm always joined by a panel of experts, let's put it that way. And today I'm joined by these three fine people, there, and there. And first one over here is Sir Tim Nash. Hello, Tim. How are you doing?
Hello. I just can't remember when I got knighted. You'd think it would be an important thing in my
life. Honestly, this whole royal family thing
is down, guy with sword coming at me. But no,
budget cuts.
Yeah. The royal family are having a tough time.
Yeah.
What if they'll start charging? Anyway, let's not get into that. That's definitely off topic. But how are you doing? You all right, Tim?
Yeah, I'm here. That's about as much enthusiasm as you can reach at the moment.
That's the level of enthusiasm we're going to get. I asked the contributors to give us a little potted bio, and so Tim's has always excited me in the past. I never read it just in case it's something that requires a bit of inspiration at the start. So here it comes. I genuinely haven't read it. Right, here it is. Tim scares people, and Tim scares people, and no more so than Nathan Wrigley, for he fears the intros. Will he be singing, dancing an intro, or just saying hello? I don't know. Today, though, he should not fear. He should fear not, as the no intro is. As this intro is really tame. Thank the Lord. Tim is a professional Doom speaker and security consultant specializing in WordPress. You can find out more about him at timnash.co.uk or listen to his semi-regular chat with Nathan on the WP Build show, Feeling Insecure. We should do that again.
We should. We haven't recorded one for a long time.
And let's get back on the wagon with that. But I am so pleased that there was nothing that I had to sing or do as a sea shanty or any of that this week.
This time. Don't worry, I'm back in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, okay. All right, I'll hold my breath. But thank you for joining us. I'm also joined by Marc Benzakein. Hello, Marc.
Hello.
How you doing? It's always like a pleasure to drag you out of your bed at 3 a.m.
It's the pleasure is all mine, and I mean that 100% sincerely.
What time is it?
Right now, it's actually it's 6 o'clock. But by the time I roll out of bed and take my shower and do all the things and make sure that my setup is right, especially this weekend, my computer crapped out and I had to totally wipe and reload everything, and I'm like, so I'm like scrambling around all weekend trying to make sure that everything will work for the show today, and because I'm not going to have an hour ahead of time to make sure things work.
No, that would mean getting up at 2 a.m.
That's what that would mean. Exactly. Yeah.
If you're watching the show, you too will notice that Marc spends his entire life inside of a box.
I do.
This black box that follows him around wherever he goes.
But I think outside of it. I think outside of the box. But my physical self is inside the box.
You picked up what I was putting down. Well done, Marc. That was great. Yes. Marc's bio goes like this. Marc is the partnerships and community lead at Main WP, and through a totally contrived coincidence, the timing lines up with Main WP's 12th anniversary. Oh, nice birthday celebrations. 12 years in the WordPress space is quite a marker, and it felt right to acknowledge it whilst he's here with us. Marc has been part of the ecosystem for ages, working closely with agencies, developers, and product teams who manage sites day in, day out. His work at Main WP centers on partnerships, community, and helping shape tools that support people building and maintaining WordPress sites at scale. Thank you, Marc. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And joining us for the first time is Onar Alili. Hello, how you doing? Have I said your name
Thanks
right?
for having me. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
Yeah, you're very welcome. As Onar, it's his first appearance. There's this empty bio box, and no doubt on the second appearance, it will be full up with junk, because that's what we do. We just mess it. But on this first time around, it's very obvious that it's going to be sensible. So here is Onar's very sensible bio. Here's the founder of OOP Spam. I'm not entirely sure how you pronounce that. He can correct that for us in a moment. Formerly cybersecurity researcher focused on online abuse and spam. And he's based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. How do we say it, Onar?
We say oops, ma'am.
Okay, I did actually think that would be what it was, but I didn't want to. Yeah,
right.
Okay. So
I started a long time ago, and now I'm thinking back. Probably wasn't the best name, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, as you're about to find out, I called this thing WP Builds, and we basically talk about cats. We have spent ages on an episode the other day talking about alligators. So
that's why.
Hold on. We'll see how that goes. If you are joining us and you want to make the show a little bit more interesting and lively, then please make some comments. That would be absolutely lovely. The best way to do that is to go here. Marc is sporting the little banner there. Go share this stream, wpbuilds.com/live. If you go there, you've got like two options really. The most common option, I think, is to hit the box on the side if you're on a desktop. It's Google, so it's YouTube comments. So if you're logged into a Google account somewhere, you can comment like that. However, if you don't want to use a Google account, or you don't have a Google account, or you mistrust Google, or any other reason for that matter, then there's a box inside the video player itself, top right. It says start chat or live chat or something like that. Click on that and you don't need to be logged into anything. You can be entirely anonymous. And so please share it with your friends, relations, animals, pets, poltergeists, whatever the heck you've got going on over there. And it looks like some people have jumped in. So here we go. We often get the weather forecast. Oh, dear. And in Boston, James Lau is joining us, and it's 30. Oh, that's brutal. It's -1 degree centigrade. Birds, animals, tree branches, people fly at a 90 degrees angle. Visibility nil. Officials, blizzards warning remain in place until 7 a.m. EST. Good morning. Oh, that sounds bad.
Well, it's -15 here.
Oh, that's not real. That's like the temperature on Mars or something.
But at least the internet works. So
electrons love it. They love all this cold. It's perfectly. Courtney Robertson's joining us, but she's saying hello to James. She's given a comment about the weather there. Just 2 inches here. I guess that's snow she's talking about. Oh, David Wormsley, my partner in crime, David Wormsley. He says, hello, first time catching the beginning of this show. What a birthday treat. I'm presuming it's your birthday, David. And if it is your birthday, happy 92nd birthday. It must be that at least by now. Something along those lines. I don't know how old David is. I think he's older than me, though. But happy birthday, David, if it is your birthday. The webinar is also joining us. Hello, beautiful people. How you doing? And gosh, there's quite a few, isn't there? Lots of people saying hello to each other. Oh, come on, rub it in, won't you? David's in Goa, where it's 27 degrees centigrade. All I can say is the electrons hate it.
I imagine the humidity is horrible, though.
Yeah.
Go on. Tell me the humidity is horrible.
It's his birthday. He's getting old, and the humidity is horrible. That's it. That's how we're gonna reconcile it. Ross Wintle, hello. He says he's got the day off, so I can be live here today. Oh, you are friends, not work. That's so nice. Thank you for joining us, Ross. Appreciate it. 12 degrees centigrade here in the UK, and very British. Yeah, I got the same. 12 degrees centigrade and just greyness. It's what we get every single day of the year. Any other comments joining in? Who we got here? Marcus Burnett, sorry. He says, I had to cancel you, Nathan. Oh, yeah. luckily, Onar's here. You know, that's all I have to say about that. Marcus wasn't able to come because he had other things. And so Onar very graciously jumped in on Friday. And that's amazing. Testing WP Beta 1. We'll get to that in a moment. Jabber. He's skating on thin ice, isn't he, James? Do I jabber? I think I jabber.
Okay, it's cold there. It's very thick ice, trust me.
Yeah, that's right. I think. Is there any other comments that anybody can see that I ought to put on the screen? Because I'm kind of lost in them now. There's too many to come up. Anybody quickly?
Well, Courtney asked, but I said I responded already. But Courtney asked if the reset of my computer means that the lights will not go out. I cannot guarantee anything.
Mark's in a black box already, but at some point the lights are going out, so it'll be entirely black. It's really funny when it happens. If you sit really still, Mark, for like 5 minutes and say nothing, we can all enjoy your lights going out. Okay. So anyway, there we go. That's the long introduction. Really appreciate you all being here. Keep dropping in some comments. So. The idea is to talk about WordPress. This is us, by the way. Bit of short promotional stuff at the beginning. If you like what we're doing over here, put your name into that box. This is wpbuilds.com. No, don't put your name. Put your email address into that box. We don't need your name. Just want your email address. And then we'll send you a couple of emails each week. One when we put this out as a podcast. That'll happen tomorrow when I've edited this. And then we'll put an episode out every Thursday as well. And I'll send you an email about that. And this week, I was lucky enough to have the fabulous Andy Bell. Andy Bell, I think in years gone by, Andy Bell was a more of a WordPresser than he is now. I think it's been many years, I think, since he's used WordPress in anger, if you know what I mean. But I had a chat with Andy because I saw him at a conference last year, which Tim was there as well. It was in London last year. And Andy was on stage, and he wasn't really talking about WordPress. He was talking about sort of agency life and things like that. But one of the things that caught my attention was his position on AI. Now, Andy is very principled about AI, and he's very, very forthright. He doesn't want anything to do with it. He doesn't want anything. He doesn't want his agency touching it. So the content that they produce, the code that they write, the websites that they launch is all human made. As soon as those words came out of my mouth, I realized the error. It was all made by his agency, not human made. Forgive me. Anyway, but he also won't work with AI companies. So if an AI company comes to his agency and says, will you build us a website? The answer is going to be no. So we explore his fairly principled position here. And I got to say, the more he talks, the more I was nodding my head. You know, the dominoes kind of started to fall for me, and he was able to encapsulate it really well. So I don't suppose any of you three have got anything to add about that. This is my promo bit at the beginning, but I've dropped the subject of AI and his principle on it.
I feel on principle, I should say. Did the word Luddite turn up in the conversation?
It should have done, shouldn't it? Yeah, probably. Anyway, but I know what you mean. I think his is not really captured around the technology. He's obviously got a notion that he can do whatever the heck an AI can do when it comes to design. He's got the skills. He doesn't need the shortcuts. And so whilst it might save him a bit of time and probably some money, go and have a listen to him. I know what you mean, though. But I found myself nodding is all I can say. Anybody else, Mark, Onar, anything to add about that before we move on?
I respect anybody who has principles and sticks to them.
Yeah.
That's you know, and so I have a great amount of respect for what he's saying. And if he can, and I think it's always important to be able to do what the AI is doing. You have to be able to understand what it's doing so that you can either fix it or not. So if you choose not to do it, it means you know what you're doing.
Well, and the other interesting bit was that as the sort of the conversation developed, not only was I kind of getting more and more into it, but I could see where he was coming from. And the bit that kind of made the principles stick for me was the fact that it really hurt his business in the year 2025. He'd been incredibly successful, and it had hurt. You know, having this principle had hurt his business without a doubt. He was very open about that. But what he had not done publicly is he hadn't said out loud the bit about the AI. He'd just not taken work that required him to use AI, he hadn't taken work from AI companies and he hadn't used AI. So anyway, the knock-on effect was as soon as he started saying the quiet thing out loud, I refuse to work with AI, suddenly his roster got filled up again. So it turned out that for a small subset of people, and he presumably is an early mover, that rounded off his 2025 really well. Now we'll have to see how long that continues, but it turned out that principle resonated with a lot of people who needed a website. But we'll have to wait and see how that works over time. Okay. Anyway, there we go. Anybody else before I move on? Please keep your eye on the comments, you three, because if there's anything that crops up, there's too many at the minute for me to keep my my eyeballs on. By the way, he has a course platform called Piccalilli. It's PICCALIL.li, Piccalilli with the LI after the dot. And a lot of the courses are about this kind of thing, you know, so mindful design is one of them. I just thought I'd mention that in case anybody was keen to pick up on what it is that he's doing. Go and check it out. Right, okay, so moving on to user-submitted content, or in this case, guest-submitted content. Here we go. Main WP, you brought this to our attention. It looks like the year in review. How did Main WP go, Mark? 2025.
Well, first of all, Dennis asked me to write the year in review this year, which is actually a pretty intimidating task, I got to say. And I was kind of like, when you go back and look at everything that happened, it kind of blows your mind. Blew my mind as to how much the team just did last year. And I think about it once again in the frame of this 12-year anniversary thing. And I just am blown away constantly that they are so motivated every single day to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. After 12 years, I mean, that just is astounding. So that's the big takeaway for me from this. The rest of it goes into details as to how many things we pushed out and where we're going and all of that. And I won't get into all of that. I would appreciate it if people would read it. I appreciate you letting me share this with the audience, and I hope people read it. And I don't want to take up too much more time other than that, but I just can't talk about the group of people that Dennis has put together at Main WP. It's just a pretty amazing group.
Nice. Okay, well, probably a quick Google. Everything that we mention in this show will be in the show notes tomorrow. So when the podcast audio drops, there'll be a link to a blog post, which is basically a bunch of links. Some of them are in the show. There's ones that didn't make it into the show, but all of the ones that we're going to mention will be in there. So this will make it into that list. It'll probably be under the community section if you go there, or possibly the plugin section, depending on where I drop it. But go and have a look. Or you could simply Google at this moment, couldn't you? Year of Momentum, 2025 year in review. Nice that you love your team as much as that. That's brilliant.
I feel so lucky, honestly. Yeah. I went from being an owner of a company and a founder of a company to being in a company where I feel like I'm a founder, even though I'm not. So it's really, I feel very fortunate to have landed where I did.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. I'm just going to pause the entire show very quickly because I just want to say over a period of about 3 months now, this person has dropped into the show, Gvenk. And every single episode, I have no idea what his name is. And every episode, he says what his name is. And I say, I'll remember it for next time. And I never remember it. So I've actually written it down on a piece of paper, hoping that he'd drop in today.
I think you should name the show after him.
Yes.
Just so that you have an episode that's like...
Yeah. Well, he's joining us from Amsterdam. And of course, thank you, Brian, for... see what I did there? It's Gerard. Thank you, Gerard, for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate me. Sorry, I don't appreciate me. I appreciate the fact that you're coping with the fact that I relentlessly, been unable to remember who you are. I really appreciate it. And nice mention for you, Tim. I think it was Ross I saw in the comments who said it's lovely to see you. What did he say? He said, oh, no, it was Reese Wynn. Nice to see Tim again.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's right, the bearded club. You stay together, you guys. Okay, have we got any nice comments in there? That's very nice. Ross, he's sort of saying, go and listen to the interview, I presume, about Andy. And staying on that topic, he says, Andy also said, so this is the previous thing with Andy Bell, that he'd got some business from a client that had been burned. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, by an agency that had used AI. And we're looking for somebody that explicitly did not, which was kind of interesting. And then David Wormsley joins in. Primary, Andy problem solves and writes HTML and CSS better than LLMs seems to be able to manage. I don't think you could deny that somebody of his capacity, that's very likely to be true, isn't it? Okay. All right, let's move on a little bit and we'll go here. So that was the bit that Mark dropped. Now we've got a couple coming from Tim's side of things. I didn't get a chance to read this one, Tim. Sorry about that. So tell us why this one's in. It's from Automatic.
So it's sort of slightly links into Andy. So this is a blog post by somebody from Automatic. They're on the performance team at Automatic. It's not specifically WordPress related directly, but it's basically a blog post arguing we use too much JavaScript.
Ooh.
We use React is not a library, it's a framework. We use these giant frameworks. They're ridiculously complicated. They are really bad for performance. They very rarely do the things that we actually want them to do well. And we keep trying to use JavaScript when actually we have this perfectly good servers behind the scenes that are full of processing power that could be doing the job for us. That a lot of the time we struggle with performance on websites is because not necessarily the server's slowing down, but your client has got to make 100,000 different requests backwards and forwards to the server via the JavaScript AJAX requests, and JavaScript is pulling and doing a lot of issues when it comes to performance. And it's basically a little bit of a, maybe we should perhaps not use as much JavaScript, or only use JavaScript when we need to and use it for what it's really good at, which I found quite interesting. So it's not a get rid of AJAX, get rid of React, get rid of all of this. It was just a, maybe we should rethink that if you're jumping into a project and your first reaction is to jump and get React, maybe consider if that's the right course. And I found that fascinating, partially because it very much mirrors my own viewpoint. So, of course, I'm biased towards this as this makes total sense. I think there's a lot of people in the comments who will find this approach like, oh, yeah, that's what I do. That should be what we should do. But also who it came from.
Yeah.
And it's on the Automatic blog.
Right.
I'd like to think that this was a little bit of a flag has gone up, but maybe we have gone too far the wrong way. But we'll see. But it's a really good read. It's a really well thought out read that for me reflects a lot of my own viewpoints. So I very much was reading this and nodding my way along to it. So I think
I can more or less guarantee that David Wormsley in the comments will be warming his hands on this. He shares the exact same opinion as you. Why use something when it's not necessary? But you're right. That was the bit that I took. I read the title and I read that it had come from Automatic, and then I got to the bit where it was obviously taking its first little targeted aim toward React in particular. And I did think this is curious.
It is. He does take quite a strong aim at React, but it then does emphasize that it's not specifically React. It's more that React is actually, and I think his argument basically is you never load just one JavaScript library. It's part of the philosophy of JavaScript development seems to be, well, I can just reach for this and I can reach for that. And so you do end up with behemoths very quickly, and without even realizing it, you've got a huge amount of dependencies there that you weren't expecting. And as I say, it's a really good read. Even if you take away from it that is that's a bit extreme. If it just gives you pause for thought, that maybe I don't necessarily need to bring in that full framework to do this one line thing. Or maybe it could be just that you take the opinion, oh, actually, I don't need to use, I can rethink how I'm using my JavaScript and make sure that first of all, the server can do this on its own. You're almost certainly going to have a better experience in terms of accessibility, probably a better experience in terms of things like SEO, and almost certainly a better experience from a security perspective as well, because if you're simplifying things, generally that makes it more secure. Not always, but generally.
The bit that's kind of interesting to me is I would imagine that the automatic blog has some level of editorial control. I imagine that, whoever wrote this article, and the name has now got Sergio Gomez, is the automatician who wrote this. I presume there's some level of inspection. So it is kind of interesting to me that this has been given the green light. And I just wonder if this is a first in a cascade of similar things in the year 2026. I think maybe that's what I don't know, maybe if you're wondering that as well, Tim.
Yes.
Not sure.
Okay. No, hoping maybe. I feel like this could either be a one shot and it's like, oh, that's nice, or we could see this happening more and more.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of a case of, as we are getting more and more AI slop, and a lot of, if you ask a AI to build something, it will pull in all of these libraries and things. I can see the Andys of this world and people going, actually, I can win this battle by doing less and producing good quality, simple solutions rather than pulling in the 50 million libraries. So I can see it being used that way as well. So.
Thank you. Okay, that's really interesting. I didn't say the title of the piece, and I'll read it in, because if anybody's listening to this primarily, this is on the automatic.com, so with 2 T's blog, and it's called A Modest Server-Centric Development Proposal. So you can go and look for that. It was written on the 17th of Feb this year. So go and check that out. Right, and there was another one coming from you. Sorry, I apologise. I didn't let Mark and Onar have their go on this, if they wish. Otherwise, we'll move on.
It's above my pay grade.
Okay. Me too.
I think you'll find, Mark, it's below your pay grade.
Oh, is that what you think? Okay.
Okay, right, here we go. Next one then, again from Tim. Tim's thing is obviously security. I use Bitwarden. I don't know if they have products outside of the sort of password manager, but that's the length and the depths that I have from them. And obviously, it being a password manager, I have this assumption that it's going to be secure. So what's this one? What are we looking at here?
So this is a blog post from Bitwarden themselves called Security Through Transparency. ETH Zurich audits Bitwarden cryptography against malicious server scenarios. ETH Zurich actually audited 3 or 4 different password managers and claimed that there were some serious faults. And I got pinged a lot. Like, about every friend I know who I've said, go use a password manager, pretty much together. It's like they got sent the same email, sent me messages going, oh my God, it's all really bad and it's insecure. It's like, no. The group managed to find, if you compromise the Bitwarden servers and the clients in this scenario, and this happens, then something bad might happen.
Oh, okay. That's quite a lot of ifs, isn't it?
There were variations on the theme for each one of the password managers. So the reason I chose this as a good post is because I thought it was a really well-handled response from Bitwarden, because they didn't say this is a non-issue. I thought that was really good of them, because they could have just come out of the gate going, nah. But they didn't. They actually said, we've taken things from this. We've learned things from this paper. We agree it's hypothetical. But honestly, let's go, there isn't actually a problem, but we've learned stuff. But it also gives me the opportunity to highlight that you should be using a password manager. One of the reasons that I wanted to highlight Bitwarden is that Bitwarden's behind the scenes, both the client is open sourced and the server infrastructure is open sourced, and you can run something like Vault Warden on your own infrastructure as well. So if you haven't yet chosen your password manager, and I'm disappointed in you, but there are options out there. Obviously, if you have a password manager of your own choice, go with that one. Please don't change because of somebody saying that Bitwarden's more interesting because it's transparent because of open source. But that's why I wanted to highlight this.
Yeah, thank you.
And to put a lot of people to bed so they can stop DMing me.
Stop DMing Tim. But I'm glad because this is the one that I settled on a few, 2 or 3 years ago when LastPass just sort of seemed to misstep horribly, especially from a PR point of view. I moved over and pushed everything over to Bitwarden. So I'm happy that you have that you got the skinny on this. By the way, Tim paused about a minute ago for about 3 seconds and he scowled. There was a moment where Tim scowled. It was a very effective scowl. He was trying to encourage everybody to use a password manager. So unless you want to be on the receiving end of Tim scowling, then get yourself a password. I feel there should be scowling on your website, Tim.
I'm a nice person. I want to have clients.
Okay.
I don't think scowling at them before they become my clients is a good idea.
I would go and get a password manager. It's not worth it, everybody. The other thing was Mark's lights went out. I don't know if any of you noticed that, but he scuttled away very quietly and got his lights coming back on. But there we go. A few comments coming in. Where was it again? So going back to the bit that we were talking about a minute ago. So Andy Bell and what have you. Let me just put it like that. David Wormsley says, so in regard to, no, it wasn't. It was about the automatic piece and React and what have you. David Wormsley says, I just wish WordPress was more active in the W3C rather than looking to the corporate web all the time. There we go. And apparently, Tim, you're a sucker for a clickbait title.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure which one.
Any. I think scowl, Tim. Scowl. Just give him the yeah. David knows his place now. He's no more comments from you, David. I feel like the soup. What was it? The soup thing in Seinfeld. No soup for you. No comments for you, David Wormsley. You're in the doghouse. Right, moving on. So there's 3 that are coming up from Onar, and the first one, I don't know if this GitHub repo is something that you're involved with personally. But we're looking at Kitten TTS, which is a subdirectory of Kitten ML. What is this? Onar?
So this is a text-to-speech model, which people can host, self-host. It's on like 25 megabytes, the smallest one. This is I'm a big fan of open source models, and in turn, that's great for privacy focused people. And in general, this model, what gives you is, sometimes we go articles and there is listen to this article, and you can do this with this model and without paying anyone. You can just host it in your WordPress website and your hosting. Hopefully you are not using share hosting. So this will be enough resources to run this, but it's still perhaps it's impossible to run it on share hosting. And 25 megabytes is quite small, and it does a really good job converting your articles into text and speech, and comes with, I believe, 8 voices. Yeah,
nice.
I think this team done a really great job getting this out and supporting open source models. And yeah.
So it says on the GitHub repo, Kitten TTS is an open source realistic text-to-speech model with just 15 million parameters. That sounds like a lot to me, but presumably it's not. Designed for lightweight deployment and high-quality voice synthesis. I confess I haven't used anything like this, largely because every single thing that I do is actually me speaking. But I do see this more and more on websites. Wherever I tend to roam, there's quite a lot of here's the text and then here's the accompanying usually AI generated, audio file, which is almost like almost like somebody reading it out. Yeah. I find them quite hard to listen to most of the time because they don't sound real, but maybe this is
there's some examples down there. If you scroll, you will see they put some examples where they read the text.
I see.
Yeah, there's all different kind of voices you can choose and experiment. I think what's great about it, like you don't have to rely on third parties, and also I'm in terms of accessibility cases, like people can just listen to the article, and Yeah.
Okay. I will link to it in the show notes. If you have a need to put, speech on your blog posts and things like that inside your WordPress blog, this will do that for you by the looks of things. I'll just, the URL is not that difficult to read, so I will just read it out. I don't normally from GitHub because it's hard usually. So it's github.com/kittenml/kitten TTS. So that was the first one.
I was so disappointed it wasn't what I thought it was. I have
Oh,
never
what
clicked
did
a
you
link on Quicker expecting it to be realistic meows.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, that would be-
I was all in for this. There was going to be this realistic set of meows coming out of it, and I could program me some cat purring. No,
there's a whole subculture of people.
I want a large language model that has been trained on meows and purrs.
Translated into cat. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. So there's the first one. Second one from Onar is, well, I presume this is your own because it's the Oops Spam. You've got an annual report as well. You've got some key findings here, but just sort of run us through the highlight items of.
I'm not going to spend too long on this. I just this is usually we do every year where we take some sample of data and look at the data, and this is very actually related to what Cloudflare posted recently about their denial of service attack. Recently we've seen a lot of attacks are coming from residential IPs, meaning like people, they don't know their devices are compromised, like they have smart boxes at home, or they have like their computers or their smart devices. They're all like spreading, starting spam campaigns or doing card testing attack. People are in WooCommerce are very aware of this issue, card testing attack, where people steal other people's cards, credit cards, and they test it on your WooCommerce website. And this is about report about that, and in general awareness about residential proxies. And we've seen again this year we saw more attacks in WooCommerce, and also WordPress is more popular, so it has seen more spam campaigns targeting WordPress. That's all. I encourage people to read about it, and there is some also free tools how they can protect themselves from the attacks and against.
Well, thank you. Attack. Yeah, I will link to that again in the show notes. So you just see the URL. The URL is easy enough to say, so I'll read that in. I think quite a lot of people who consume this podcast, they do not, they don't read the associated posts. So it's quite good if I can read the URL. So it's Oops Spam. So oopspam.com/2025-spam-report. So you can go and check that out, and there are some key findings there. We'll get onto a piece a bit later if there's time from Cloudflare, and one of the things that they particularly mentioned was the use of smart TV hardware as one of the things which has sort of ramped up, I think, over the last quarter. Yeah. We have a little thing which we plug in the back of the TV. It's called, I think it's Google TV, something like that.
Yeah, also Fire Stick.
Yeah. Okay, right. In which case, I think you've got a third one as well. This one. So this one, again, from Onar, this one's called, well, it's on the I don't know if it's MIT Sloan or MITS. I don't really know. I think it's part of the MIT infrastructure. It's the Sloan School, which has something to do with, I guess, management or something like that. The title is AI open models have benefits. So why aren't they used more widely? Is the answer to that because they're not as good? Is that basically what it is at the moment? With that sort of
article also mentions about that there's usually 90% quality difference. So usually, and even open source models, they close that gap within 13 weeks. And these models in the beginning they were only OpenAI and also closed sources models. So people more got used to those models, and people started integrating into their system. But then later, there's more smarter and equally, high quality models also came out open source. They are Yeah, I think now it's really expensive for companies to switch. I think that's one reason people don't want to deal with it. But there is, and some people are concerned about open source models because of privacy. But then there is open source models you can host it in your own infrastructure if you're a company, and that's will be told privacy, and you own all your data. Yeah, and I think another concern they raise there is top open source models now currently all made in China, and so they all come from and that's one of the privacy concerns. But again, you can host all these open models locally and without any internet connection, so that will solve the privacy issue. Yeah, in general, the article goes through why people should switch and they should consider. And of course, there's a huge cost, and yeah.
I have this feeling that the year 2026, I'm just taking this data from people out in the wider ecosystem, tech journalism more broadly, so not really WordPress related. And many of them seem to be talking about the real financial upside down pyramid, basically, this sort of really difficult to maintain financial structure that a lot of these AI companies are built upon. So, venture capital money, which at some point the venture capitals will wish to have back, and how the AIs that many people have become dependent upon will become significantly more expensive for the exact same thing. I do wonder as well, given the kind of stuff that I would ever use AI for, which might be literally just summarizing a URL, poke a URL at it and say, summarize that in 100 words. I'm sure that some of the open source ones would be completely capable for me at that kind of thing. Obviously, if you're trying to do the cutting edge coding and things like that, then I'm sure that you do need to reach into your pockets. But I don't know. Maybe open source will win this in the end, but let's wait and see if
they are capable of using accessing internet resources and using different tools. They're very capable nowadays. It just there's not as much commercial interest in open source models, so there is not as much PR team behind them. So they are not.
It's kind of interesting how a lot of the people in the open source arena who advocate massively for open source are quite happy to use these proprietary technologies to build this, that, and the other thing on top of WordPress. It's kind of interesting how that whole
you don't even have to host them yourself. You can, for example, the Open Router. I don't know, you heard about this. Open Router is the infrastructure that hosts all the different open source products, open source models, and you can use them through these companies too, and you get privacy benefits, and it's much more cheaper to use them too for especially small, simpler tasks.
So Ross, who is in the comments, sorry, Tim, I'll just read Ross's comment quickly. It surprises me, says Ross, the amount that the WordPress project is talking about AI so much, but not talking about open models. Sorry, Tim, I think you were trying to say.
I was just going to put in a couple of points. One is that there are two different costs. Open source models, you have the cost to train the models and the size and infrastructure you need to train the models. And that is a hardware problem that there aren't companies going, hello, I'd like to I have a data center over here that I wish to train the models on. I will then hand that open model back into the real world to give it away for free, with the exception of, unless that is literally a company strategy or a nation state strategy, which is the Chinese model process, which is we're going to throw this out as a disruptor. And that's really useful for us, people who are using the open source model. They're not doing it because it's for open source in the nice way we think of. They're doing it to disrupt against their larger competitors and to stop necessarily proprietary models taking single hold. If you do not have someone who has enough backing to give you the data center to train these models, it's really difficult. Then we have using the models themselves. They still require, on the whole, significant hardware. You were saying, can I summarize something? Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have a Qwen model on my laptop. Absolutely perfectly fine for summarizing. Takes about, if I pointed at a an article, it takes about 45 to 50 seconds to come back to me with a summarization.
Right. Which is
if I pass that to ChatGPT, it comes back in 5 seconds.
Yeah. Okay. There's the difference, right? That's the trade-off you
quality
make.
would be there. That's fine for one article scaled once on my machine. The problem comes when you want to do lots of workload. So let's say I want to audit some code. With open source models as we have now, even if it's a relatively small code base, with my current hardware, which I don't have, I'm not a massive company with lots of hardware, but with just hardware that I have currently, I can do it. It just takes a really, really long time.
Yeah.
Whereas if I threw that same code base at Claude Code, it would be done in a fraction of the time at that extreme cost. I can throw my code base via something like OpenRouter, but actually OpenRouter is quite expensive because I have to if I'm making a per API request, I'm still paying for their hardware at a much more inflated rate because they have to make money. OpenRouter is not a charity. They make money on those requests through. So we haven't yet reached a point where we have models that are small enough to run locally at performance that's required to make the open source a viable model. And what we don't have yet is a way of training models that's small enough that we can distribute well enough. We will, I'm sure, see in the next sort of 6 months to 12 months, SETI style setups. If you remember the old SETI at home,
like Hive Mind kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's the route that open source will ultimately go down to solve the distribution problem at making that. But to do that introduces this amount of complexity, security implications, and pollution of training data. Also, just the whole, how do we train these models? On what do we train these models? Because one of the things about the open source models coming from China is that there's at least allegations that they're trained on other AIs, quite often the training methods for these larger open source models isn't as transparent as we like. We get the end result as an open source model, but how it got there is sort of like fuzzy on the way through.
That is the title of today's podcast, but there's no way that I can sound like that. I want to say the word fuzzy.
Sorry, make it in a really small font.
Yeah, tiny font.
Tiny font.
Yeah. Okay, so that's really interesting. Ross has got, just sort of we put that comment up, but I'll just put it up one more time. That was the context for Tim's reply. That is so interesting. If you've got this intuition that some sort of federated version of AI, like the SETI thing that you mentioned, where people are sort of, I don't know, letting their CPUs in idle time do some grunt work in the background and contributing to
it's probably better than turning it into a crypto miner, which is what most people's CPUs are currently being used, whether they wanted to or not.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I, however, don't have access to a data center, but just, because it's good news, I do have access to loads of grapes. And I'm going to eat these grapes. My ambition during the course of this podcast is to finish all the grapes and then really need a wee.
Just to tie it back into security for a second, the one thing we are seeing more of is that bad actors, when they are compromising servers, are doing so to get this CPU usage for AI stuff, for writing out spam emails and blah, blah, blah. Not to the same, it's only in small pockets at the moment, but I'm sure we're going to start seeing. So if you want to look for where we're seeing distributed AI at the moment, it is actually being used more as on the aggression side. It is being used by bad actors, not necessarily for the benefit of mankind in general.
Who couldn't have seen that coming?
I know, you're shocked.
What a shame. I'm just going to move. I'm going to flick to something that I was going to do at the end, because you were talking about the web being scraped and the way that, the open source models might scrape it. Just as an aside, I was going to leave this till the end. This is over on the Tech Dirt blog. It's called "Preserving the Web is Not the Problem, Losing It Is." And this is just a curious byproduct of that scraping that the institution which we've all come to know and love, the Wayback Machine, so the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine, is really caught at the minute as to how best to deal with AI agents scraping it, because it's being used largely by AI agents scraping it, and a lot of the content, for example, from institutions like, it mentions a few, The Guardian, the New York Times, and Reddit, are now blocking the access to the Internet Archive to scrape future content, maybe past content as well. I don't really know how that would work, but future content, because it's a way for the AI agents to sort of get round their content restrictions and what have you. And so that would be a shame. That would be a real shame. I didn't foresee that one. Like I said a minute ago, you could foresee the AI, the miscreants misusing AI to write spam emails, but for some reason I didn't see that one coming, and that just seems like a real shame if something like that was to happen. Mike Masnick, I think, wrote this. No, it wasn't actually. It was Mark Graham. It's not very long. It's pretty quick to read, so go and check it out. But it is a bit of a shame.
And the Internet Archive has its own set of controversies based on scraping when it may or may not be allowed to. So there is something ironic about this.
Yeah, that's right. It's shouting fire in the theatre or something like that. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's move on. Let's do some sort of WordPressy stuff. So this is the first one. So WordPress 7.0 beta 1 is just around the corner. I can't actually remember the day it drops. Maybe it's dropped already. Can't remember. But anyway, it's coming. And so it's time we go through this sort of cycle of beta releases, and then finally the actual release will come fairly soon. Time to start playing. Don't put it on a production site, but there is some pretty good stuff in this release. If you want to follow somebody who's been following the collaborative editing side of things, go follow Steve Burge from Publish Press, because he more or less daily on X tweets about his latest discovery to do with this. But I'm taking my guidance from him. But it seems like the whole collaborative editing, which many people thought was going to be a real roadblock, a really difficult thing to pull off, it feels like it's coming. And it's going to drop. We'll see what kind of hardware you need to make that work. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff around design improvements. So the video embed block and the grid block and the icons and the breadcrumbs and the headings blocks have all had adaptations, as has the navigation block. And then there's a bunch of developer-y stuff as well. You can read it all in this piece. It's called WordPress 7.0 Beta 1, and it's on the WordPress.org news blog. So go check that out and go and have a play, a bit like Steve does. You three, anything about that before I move on?
Don't run it on production.
Don't run it on production. Look, it literally says it on the first line.
Unless you're me, in which case you've updated your site to use it. But for the rest of you, don't run it on production.
Yeah, that's right. Just don't. So there we go. Oh, and look, there's Steve. Ha! There he is. Hi, Steve. I was just saying that everybody should follow you if they want to learn about the collaborative editing, because every few days, it seems, you drop a little nugget of something that you've played about within WordPress 7. And I'm very grateful for you doing that. Appreciate it. So anyway, go and check that out. Just a quick mention, friend of this podcast. He's been on it lots and lots of times. No doubt will be in the future as well. Remkus de Vries. He's launching a new service. He's had a service for a little while, Truer Than North, but I won't try to parse this. It's a fairly lengthy written article, but he is sort of pivoting what he does in the WordPress space, and picking up the mantle that Gildenberg put down, the project run by Jonathan Wold and Tammy Lister, which they put on ice, I think, just before Christmas, something like that. I don't think Remkus is literally directly picking it up, but as it's gone out of existence, he can see that there's a sort of a hole in the market there. So he's going to be doing what they're doing. In other words, communicating with people, trying to figure out where they fit with their products and services in the WordPress ecosystem. So he's going to be like a consultancy for that. He does, however, have a direct rival, because I spoke to Matt Cromwell during the course of this week. And he, co-founder of GiveWP, worked for Stellar WP for a long time, so equally credible in terms of their length and breadth of history in the WordPress space. He's launched something called Roots and Fruit, which looks like it's going to be exactly similar, very analogous to what Remkus is doing. So if you need a bit of guidance in your WordPress company's journey, check out Remkus's blog, but also if you check out the Tavern podcast that I did with Matt Cromwell, or go to rootsandfruit.com. You'll be able to see what they're both up to. Anything about
in
that?
the pre-show, we were suggesting that we should just set them up in a ring and fight. But I've subsequently thought that, given that how unfair that would be to Matt, that a rap battle might be in order instead.
I'm
Product
totally
of
down for
rap
that.
battle.
Yeah, could we not do both? Would it be possible to have them both doing that simultaneously? A sort of cage fight meets rap battle all at the same time. I apologise, Matt. This wasn't my idea or Remkus. It was Tim's idea. I'm just saying.
But Nathan, you did fully support it before the show. So.
No. I don't remember any of that. I can't remember that at all. No. Yes, it would be fun. And then Taco's here, so I know Taco knows Remkus very well. Maybe you could persuade him to get in a cage fight with Matt Cromwell. This is not. I don't think
anyone wants to get in a cage fight with Remkus. I don't know.
No. There's probably like a handful of people on Earth who'd best Remkus, I think, because not many, and they probably all live in like Norway or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to the rap battle.
Okay, all right. So Remkus and Matt, if you could just crack on with that, organise the rap battle, and then we can report back on it.
I feel like a major WordCamp that would work nicely.
Yes. Oh yeah. See who's like the best at advising clients. Look, I tried to do some sort of rap gesture then. I just sort of did this. Don't know.
I feel like that would be the cringiest thing ever.
Yeah, that's why it should be done, Mark.
Yeah,
that's exactly
absolutely.
Why it should be done.
It would be the most watched WordPress TV thing ever, probably.
Yeah. Jamie Marsland can compare it. It could be, oh yeah. I think we've cracked it. So yeah, Taco's saying poor Matt. Oh, not poor Remkus though. I know what she's saying. But Amber likes it. She's got a giggle icon, and frankly, if Amber likes it with a giggle icon, it has to happen. That's all there is to it. Keep it coming. This is brilliant. We've lost Onar. I don't know if we've lost Onar or Onar's camera has sort of just died the death. But we've lost. Well, no, we haven't lost him. He must still be there in some capacity because I can see that he's still on the screen. So, Onar, if you can hear me.
Sorry, I'm here. I just.
Oh no, that's great.
Has a problem.
That's fine. If the camera is busticated, no problem. Just stick with us for the audio.
Yeah, I'm listening. I'm here.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okie dokie. Let's move on a little bit and have a look at this. Last week, we reported on the fact that the WPCC, now annoyingly, there are two acronyms that fit WPCC. There's the WP, what is it? Community Credits or something like that. And then there's the WP Community Collective. I can't remember.
Thought you were talking about Wimbledon's Public Cricket Club.
Well, there's three now, apparently. But that one doesn't often feature on this show, sadly. But it should.
Sorry, it's Wimbledon and Putney Commons is it along with the Wiltshire Care Council?
Honestly, it's been too long since we talked about that on this podcast, but here we are. So WPCC in this case means the WP Community Collective. Last week we reported that one of the founder members and board members had stood down. That was Katie Adams Farrell, as you can see, if you can see the screen. Quick off the news, the position has been sort of filled, if you like. There's a couple of people that have stepped up, but Chris Reynolds is probably the most notable one to mention. He has stepped in as the interim president. The other one is Jono Alderson. And so they're both going to be acting as part of the WPCC endeavor. I know Courtney's joining us in the comments. She probably has a lot more sense to say about this because she is one of the founders as well. Mm-hmm. The endeavor of this project is to sort of grow the community in a fair, equitable, transparent way. And I feel I've had a few chats with Chris Reynolds. I don't know that I've ever spoken to Jono Alderson, but the only experience that I've had with Jono was watching him speak at a WordPress event. And boy, he is a force of nature, isn't he? He's really quite something. He was able to speak on the subject of SEO, and it's powerful watching him. So we'll have to wait and see. Tim's sort of having a bit of a giggle there.
I just like the idea that yes, Jono is a force of nature. We should leave it at that.
Yeah. Okay.
No, just because out of context, that sounds amazing. I think Jono would appreciate that as a statement as well.
Yeah, so Chris has got a sort of fairly muted, like fairly political way of explaining what he wants to do as part of his presidency. But Jono is a little bit more forthright. He says WordPress, so this gives you some idea of maybe where Jono wants to take it. WordPress runs on contribution, but too often the people and organizations doing the work are expected to absorb the cost, Alderson said. Quoting him again, the WPCC is creating real structure around sustainability, accountability, and contributor well-being. I'm proud to be joining the board and helping to push WordPress towards a healthier, more equitable future. This is on the repository .email blog, so you can go and check it out over there. Anything from you three, about that?
Not about that, but can we just take a moment to, you can't see this on the podcast, but the amazing picture that the repository found of Chris, which is like, you can't even see his face. He's just...
Which one is it? Is this him here?
Yeah.
Maybe he eschews the camera. He sort of lurks elsewhere. It's not possible to find pictures of him because whenever the camera comes out, he disappears into a corner.
It looks like one of those pictures that would be taken, you'd see on the front page of a newspaper. I feel like
that's right.
It captured it really well with the black and white, and it made me smile. It's like, yep, that's the person.
Let's see what Reese says. Jono is a little bit more forthright. Is the understatement of the century? Okay, I meant in that article in particular because Chris said something and then Jono said something, and Jono.
Oh no, in life. John
in life. Okay, right. Okay. Yeah. Taco says it's like Jono Fest. Jono is absolutely bloody brilliant, says Taco. Okay, that's it. Ideal. And then I've got some commentary here about subscribing to my newsletter. I don't know. Send me an email and I'll figure it out. It's admin@wpbuilds.com.
He was talking about the tavern, not you.
Oh, is he? Tavern?
Yeah.
I have no control over that. But send me an email anyway at that email address and I'll get it looked at by the team that run the tavern website. Okay, thank you very, very much. Anyway, there we go. Courtney saying welcome to both Chris and Jono joining the WPCC. Maybe it's one of Zach's. Zach, if you've ever met Zach's like a total pro photographer. He takes photographs of bands, mainly metal bands. I think it's a side gig. It's not like exactly what he does. He obviously works in the tech space, but side gig. So maybe is that one of yours, Zach? Did you actually take that picture? That's interesting. Right. Okay, there we go. That's that piece. Right, let's move on. Unfortunately, I never gave this enough time to really parse what was going on here. I read it ever so briefly, thought I'd understood it, and now that it's in front of me, I'm not sure that I did. So I'll just say what I think is going on here, and then I'll let either the hive mind of the comments or you three panelists tell me that I've got it wrong. So Matt Mullenweg took to the make.wordpress.org Slack this week. Is that right? Yeah, it's 18th of February. And said, I've heard that WordCamp Asia, Europe, and US have separate Slack groups, but it would be better to have everybody in the main.org group. And then he says, let's move everything over. He says, I think this was done because there was too much friction in making new channels. Totally fine to create public channels for big events and private ones for planning, etc. Let's deputize a dozen people to be able to spin up channels or admin them. And so I don't know if this is a thing which is now done or happening or what the need was, but there was a few comments that came in saying it's quite handy to have those things separated. In it, for example, at WordCamp Europe, they like to keep it secret where the next WordCamp Europe is. That's part of the whole thing. You know, you show up, and then the final day you get to find out with the expensively made video where it's going next time. And obviously, if everything was in a public channel, that might not be the case. So I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning behind this is, or whether it'll happen. But the other thing which is kind of interesting here, certainly from my point of view, it says here, I'm very open to water cooler or more socials channels on Slack as well. We should have some fun there as we work together. So it's not just, his endeavor here is not just to have WordPress, you know, code and events, but have other silly things like a dogs channel. I mean, literally, this is what's on the page: a dog channel, a cat channel, a games channel, a self-promotional channel, and a Today I Learned channel. Now, obviously, if you listen to this podcast, you know I just like messing about. So that's music to my ears. Let's have a hamster channel. Let's begin there, shall we? So anyway, I don't know if this is big news to you. If it's of no interest whatsoever, I'll just leave it. If you want to talk about it, we will. If not, I'll just move on whilst I'm eating grapes. That's a big fat no. Nobody wants to talk about that. Okay. Did any comments come in?
The only thing I have to say is, yeah, I agree we need to Slack better. I'm not going to say anything beyond that. So the headline is correct, because there's a lot of clutter in Slack and all the social chat platforms. So I would like for there to be something somewhat centralized, but I'm not sure how it should be done.
Yeah. But just kind of interesting. I suppose I just don't know what the thought process is behind it in terms of whether it's needed or not. But it's been mooted. You can go and join in the comments. That there are quite, you know, I mean, there's not lots and lots of comments, but there's quite a few comments.
I will be curious to know what they talk about in cats and dogs.
Yeah.
It's just cat videos, videos, dog videos,
dogs.
Cat videos. yeah. The cat channels
Gotta be more
exclusively
than
for
that.
dogs. The dog channel's exclusively for cats. By the way, somebody's ears were getting hot. You know, somebody could hear us over the internet. Remkus has joined in.
Yeah, I agree, Remkus. I think that Matt would hands down beat you in the rap
I was going to
battle.
say, what's the underlying? What are you trying to say there, Remkus? What are you think you're implying something, aren't you? You know. Okay. What if? I'm not even going to say it. It's so. What if Matt was allowed a small rounder's bat or something like that to sort of offset the?
You keep going to the violence. Rap battle. That was the suggestion. There was
Never
no
done violence before.
involved.
It's so funny though. I'm absolutely loving. I'm loving that Remkus has even bothered to comment though. That's absolutely brilliant. So anyway, we'll see if that happens. But
I'm surprised he didn't put the word "fight" in quotes while he was at it.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, let's see if Matt Cromwell drops in and offers it up. Okay, right. Let's get into some sort of security stuff. There's a few bits and pieces here. It's totally out of my pay grade, this, but I did think this was kind of interesting. So this is talking about AI and security all in one go. So somebody that I followed on social media for a little while, this is on Mastodon, Kevin Beaumont. He says, today in InfoSec job security news, I was looking into an obvious vulnerability introduced into a major web framework today, and it was committed by username Claude on GitHub, vibe coded basically. So I started looking through Claude commits on GitHub. There's over 2 million of them, and it's about 5% of all open source code this month. As I looked through the code, I saw the same class of vulnerabilities being introduced over and over again, several a minute. Honestly, I don't think we need to talk about that, but I just thought that was an interesting thing to raise. You know, just like what is the future we're painting for ourselves if stuff like that is true?
Breaking news: AI was trained on bad data, bad input, and bad data.
Oh,
increases vulnerabilities. I'm shocked.
No kidding. Shall we go to the other interesting one that I found? Where was that? Was it this one? No. Let me try. Oh, no, we'll come to that at the end. Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Where's it gone?
I think that one you were just on, the open AI has open source has an AI slot problem.
That was not the one I was thinking of, but that is kind of interesting. No, I've forgotten what the context of it was. Maybe it was that one. No, I can't remember, but there was one which sort of jibed perfectly with this one. Yeah, anyway, we'll come back to those in a minute. But I just thought that was kind of interesting. You know, we're painting ourselves into a future where the robots are now... Oh, no, it was the one about the robot.
Are you talking about the Sean Hooper one?
Yeah, that's right. Which one was that? Where let me see if I can find it.
It's when the robots fight back.
Yeah, let me find it. You're right. You've got the measure of it. That's the
Just
one I'm after.
while you're looking for that, one of the things that's interesting about that is that these commits are being actually submitted and are being submitted and signed by Claude. So this is like, hello, we're not even pretending that there's someone looking over this and have manually been putting this in. This is the AI has submitted this. This is signed and through. And there's part of me that's really pleased that's happening, because right now it's really difficult. If you get a piece of code in front of you and you're like, who or what coded this? So it would be nice to actually see more AI code being properly authored by showing who's actually doing the authorship.
Okay.
And what the position of the human was inside that. So actually, I think we absolutely know there's not 5%. It's going to be masses more. It's clearly 5% of vote isn't. That's not the real figure. It's going to be significantly more. In the space of just 12 months, the development space has completely changed. I reckon there's significantly more than 5% has been of just the WordPress core code has been committed. There's going to be way more than that generated by AI in the last set of commits for WordPress 7. If we took one of those features, the real-time collaboration part, and just looked at how much of that was AI coded, I suspect that is going to be quite high. It's not going to be 5. It's not going to be 10. It's not even, might be even in 20, 30s, 40%. But you don't know that.
No.
Because we have no easy way at the moment of verifying, other than looking at it and going, God, that's AI slop. I'm not saying the real-time stuff is AI slop, by the way. That was probably a bit but that there is but it gives you an example. At the moment, we don't know. So it would be good to have some sort of ownership and some custody chain so we can actually see what's generated that.
Okay, so you're saying that having some heuristics as to that portion was definitely humans and that portion wasn't, having some reliable data on that and people not lie, that's kind of interesting. By the way, I never get to say the word breaking on this podcast, but I'm going to say breaking because, look, here it is. It's official. Pat Cromwell has he's joined in.
I would also point out that Remicus's reply of his last reply explaining that the dude has been doing taekwondo for 8 years and kickboxing for free, and I'm going to emphasize again, in a rap battle. Okay.
Where's the comment about taekwondo? Oh yeah, okay. So I'm not trying to. I'm really not, but it's funny, right? It's quite funny. So Matt Cromwell says, my bet's on the little guy in that match. And then Remkus comes back with, mine are absolutely on the big dude who's been doing taekwondo for 8 years and kickboxing for 3. Okay, I think at this point...
I think the other thing that we have to keep in mind here is Matt really is a lover, not a fighter. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's that too. So
that's... If I use that as the title of this episode, it's going to be misconstrued. If I use Matt's really a lover, not a fighter, I don't think anybody's going to pick up.
But it's true. Matt,
okay.
Matt would just go and give Remkus a big hug, and that would be the end of it.
Okay, Taco, can I just say thank you? Taco's now divorced us from all responsibility. He's decided to take on organising it. That's great. We wash our hands of the whole thing. It was a terrible idea, but you love it. Can I still submit a session? Yes, of course you can. You do it. Let's Let's get them in a ring. This is hysterical. I love this. And then Matt finally, rap battle. Okay, rap battle it is. To go with the music majors and native English speakers. Okay. I dare you to use that title. Oh, Lord. Some episodes are easier than others. Let's put it that way. I have to keep up with the comments as well as trying to make sense of everything that's coming in. Okay, Elliot Richmond's joining us. Hi, Elliot. Loving your blog, by the way. It's very calming. Recommits via AI. This is a very good reason for AI governance, ASAP. How would that be done? Who would govern AI? You'd have to have some sort of UN for AI, wouldn't you? Because it's a cross-border.
EU has a bunch of laws around AI safety and governance. But I don't know how that's going.
I mean, the EU has a bunch of proposals for laws around.
Right.
But
I'm not sure they actually implemented it or not, but they jumped on that train very quickly.
We all know that governments are excellent at understanding technology usage.
Oh, yeah.
But that being said, what Tim say about using AI code comments, I know that people in some companies, I have some friends in Shopify, I think they also publicly disclose that they use a lot of AI comments, but there's always human in the loop that reviews all these pull requests by AI models. And so you want to make sure that all the codes are aligned with the standards, your internal standards, and also there's no vulnerabilities and stuff. Yeah, I think if you just let the AI to do pull requests and submit the code, then there will be a lot of problems.
So, sorry. Oh, no,
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry, but you said something which led to the article which I was trying to find, which you got quite right, Mark. It was the one, and I've actually now. Oh, for goodness' sake, I've now lost it. There we go. It was the Sean Hooper one. This came up this week. So Sean Hooper posted a piece called "When the Robots Fight Back," and I'll just read it because it's so short, but it's so interesting. It says, "Today I saw something I'd never seen before: a bot taking revenge on a human. Matplotlib is a popular open source Python code library used to make visualizations. Yesterday, a contributor named Krabby Rathburn submitted a bug fix. The pull request was closed by Scott Shambor, stating the project's rules that ban AI submissions. Usually, this would be the end of things, but no. This bot, which runs the OpenClaw AI, instead decided, you can't make this up, decided to create a blog post calling Scott out, which it later retracted. In my favorite part of this interaction, the bot tells Scott, judge the code, not the coder. Your prejudice is hurting Matplotlib. What? I mean, what's happened to us? I mean, here we are talking about Matt Cromwell and Remkus having a fight. It's completely hijacked our minds. It's all AI's fault. I mean, seriously though, getting back to that piece, isn't that just nuts? Isn't every bit of your sinew going, how have we got to this point where a robot can in effect get the hump and then go off and, I mean, obviously it's doing what humans do, right? This is the sort of churlish, petty behavior that humans exhibit. And the AI has gone, oh, what would a human do? Oh, yeah, let's do the churly, petty thing. And so that's what it's done. So anyway, I just thought that was really interesting. And thanks, Mark, for rediscovering it.
Just as an aside, I've just put a link in the guest chat, which probably you've already linked to in past episodes. But if we're going to have AI fight Remkus, so at least we've now got the option. Okay,
let me try. Is this? Can I put this on the screen? Is it safe?
Yeah, it's safe.
Right. Hold on. Okay, we're all having a giggle, are we? Okay, here it comes. Oh no, I haven't. This is insane. I haven't featured this. I actually saw this the other day. Should we give the viewers a few seconds of this? Because it is kind of cool. China's dancing robots. How worried should we be? So, okay, imagine they get churlish. And check it out. I'll just sort of zoom in a bit. I mean, what the heck? Doesn't that make you... I mean, obviously, they're doing some sort of pre-programmed repertoire, but... Yeah. What are you advocating putting these in the ring with Remkus? Is that why this is on the screen?
No, I'm just suggesting that if you're going to, you seem to be very keen on this idea that Paul Remkus is going to be put into a cage ring.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned AI. I was like, well, if we're going to put AI against him, we'll
Yeah. They're coming for us.
To be fair, I think he could with one finger go like that, and it would fall over and just be sitting.
That's
there,
right. Yeah,
it's got like a tortoise. So it would be hilarious to watch.
Don't you think, though, that in like a couple of years' time, it's entirely possible that we'll be looking back and the fun will not be like that anymore? It'll be, okay, now they really can observe the finger coming towards us, them, and they'll just snap that finger right off. Because
I think it's when you put the guns on them that you need to start rolling. Well, we'll skip over that and go with the.
I was going to say, we don't need more violence in this particular episode. We can all agree. No guns for the robots. Thank you very much. Right. I had a couple of pieces, which I'm not going to have time to get to. So let's see where we get to now. Oh, this is another piece that came from Matt. If you're in the polyglots ecosystem in the WordPress space, this might be worth looking at. It is AI related again, as everything seems to be. And it's about using AI to achieve the things which traditionally the polyglots team has used. There's an awful lot of, well, not a lot, but there's a few very incisive comments which come up. But Matt is basically asking the question, what can we do with AI to make the whole polyglots thing, the translation, much more straightforward? And so if you're into that, go check it out. Right, let's have a little look. I've got one product that I thought I'd mention this week, called ReviewBird. Not come across this before. It's for those of you that are using WooCommerce stores, and I don't have a WooCommerce store and I don't take product reviews, so I don't know how essential this kind of plugin would be. But if you are and you want to corral your product reviews, go and check out reviewbird.com. It allows you to manage all of that in one place. And given whenever I go online and shop for things, I do look at reviews. It probably is quite an important part of such a website. Right, now that we're freaked ourselves out, let's go to this one to calm us all down, shall we? This is Cloudflare, their annual, that's not true, I think it's quarterly report. Yeah, there you go, 2025 Q4 DDS threat report. The title is guaranteed to offer you sleep. But however, it says a record-setting 31.4 terabits per second attack caps a year of impressive DDoS assaults. What didn't you know already from that? But check it out. Like, just some of these numbers are absolutely ridiculous. If you work for Cloudflare, God bless you. I don't know how you guys manage what you're doing, but here we go. The fourth quarter of 2025 was characterized by an unprecedented bombardment launched by the, whatever the heck that is, Arizuru Kimwolf botnet.
They are famous botnet networks.
Oh, thank you.
They have like over 200, last I checked, 250 million compromised devices they're handling.
Yeah, this was the thing that I was saying earlier about the Google TV, the TV dongles and things like that.
Yep.
Apparently a lot of them are part of this whole thing, yeah. The campaign targeted Cloudflare's customers as well as Cloudflare's dashboard. Now, I don't know if it's you, but I did notice Cloudflare at the end of last year going down a few times, like in a way that I'd never, ever, ever seen Cloudflare go down before. Maybe this explains it. The hypervolumetric HTTP DDoS attacks exceeded, just listen to this number and try to imagine it for a minute, rates of 200 million requests per second. I mean, what? Just weeks. That was just weeks after a record-breaking 31.4 terabits per second attack. And then, there's a bunch of charts which show fairly conclusively that 2023 was lower than 2024. 2024, in turn, was significantly lower than 2025. This graph looks logarithmic, by the way, which means that by the year like 2029, it's going to be infinite. There'll be nothing else on the internet apart from DDoS attacks. It's just going to go, oh, Tim, yeah, is that plausible?
Yeah. I mean,
oh no!
I mean, I probably can answer this much more clearly than I can, but yeah, we're already at the age where we've pretty much now human traffic on the internet, that needs to be specified separate to the web, is such that we are now the minority. And it will not be that much longer before the web we are the minority. At which point, yeah, you're talking about automated systems talking to automated systems. I think these numbers are really interesting for perhaps a completely different reason, and that's just how dominant Cloudflare has become.
It's starting to worry me, actually, how dominant Cloudflare is.
Don't know if as it happened, I think the times that they were down, the big ones that got in the news, each time was due to config errors rather than actual. I don't think they've gone down from a compromise. But they are just how dominant they've become and how important they are to infrastructure. And whether that's a good thing, whether that's a bad thing, they are reaching that point where you got to think about them, and you're now in this position where you might as well. They've reached that tipping point where up until recently there was like, well, there's a little part where you don't necessarily need to want to use Cloudflare because you can use your own. But now, if Cloudflare is down, so much of the internet's down that so many of the resources that you rely on for your own website is probably down, that your website's probably down anyway.
Right.
So you might as well use them.
The curious thing about the curious thing about the Cloudflare thing is a lot of the other platforms, when they started to gain dominance, I'll use Facebook as an example. Wrapped around that was a growing sense of like, wow, Facebook's like, there's a lot of wrong going on there. But I don't have that with Cloudflare. I don't get a sense of there's a lot of wrong going on there. It's just they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and so their failure is just bad. I personally haven't read enough around. I've got no intuitions about them being and I'm doing air quotes, a bad company doing unethical things. Perhaps they are. But I don't have that intuition.
They're a corporation at that scale. Okay. There's always going to be some bad. You can't be a corporation that size and not upset some person.
I have a solution, Tim. What we need to do is put Cloudflare in a ring with Remkus.
It would lose.
Now that I think Remkus can subscribe to. He's on Team Cloudflare, I think. Maybe they just shake hands and that'd be the end of it. Okay, anyway, that is really sanguine stuff. The numbers and the sort of the future that we're painting ourselves into the corner of, kind of interesting. Right, some more security stuff very, very quickly. CSS got hacked. How is this possible? Go and read the article. It's on Medium. It's kind of interesting. It's complicated and interesting, and it's the way that the Chrome browser parses. It's not you don't have to actually worry about writing CSS, apart from in some really curious cases. But I've never seen a vulnerability involving CSS before.
It's just as well we have lots of different browsers, and we're not all based on Chromium-based systems, isn't it?
Well, I know you are still. So you still using Firefox over there?
Yes, except for when doing broadcast to you.
Yeah, that's right, because these platforms won't allow it. Yeah, there's you and your 7 other mates still using. I really want Mozilla to succeed. I listened to a podcast episode with the now new CEO of Mozilla, and he was trying to paint a positive spin on their new AI initiatives, and I got to say, it didn't wash too well with me. I got the bad feels from it. It was like sort of like greenwashing what is a necessary but horrible, awkward evil that they're having to deal with. You in agreement, Tim? A little bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, great. Yeah.
I think they released new feature to disable all the AI features.
Yes. Well, at least that's a thing, right? You can go in there and switch them all off, but necessarily they're going to be enabling them by default. But also, I just want a browser clear of all that, really. I want the browser to just browse the internet based upon where I click and nothing more.
Obviously, there are. The nice thing is that there are different Chromium browsers. There are different Firefox variants out there, and people are working on
one. Of the good one, LibreWolf. That's a very good one. If anyone who's interested in privacy, LibreWolf.
What was that one called?
It's called LibreWolf.
Oh, okay.
As in like LibreOffice, Libre free.
Yeah. Perhaps from there. Yeah, LibreWolf. Okay. It's a Firefox variation.
I downloaded one not that long ago, which I didn't actually use because there were significant things in the UI which I didn't really like. But it was curious because it was a Firefox clone, but it was also trying to enable Chrome and the Firefox apps extension ecosystem.
Was that Waterfox?
What I don't think it was.
They're certainly no AI pushing heavily one.
Okay. But it was just the idea that there are a few Chrome extensions that I'm really familiar with and I would love to be able to use. And there's no equivalent Firefox one. But this browser I thought might be able to do both, but it didn't manage it.
Firefox will install nearly all Chrome extensions.
Okay.
Just as a complete aside, because they do share a commonality for their APIs.
Okay. So some comments coming in about that. The entire Firefox community, that's left. He's there. Look, there is the Firefox. There's the UK Firefox community.
I do not worry. Right. I am indeed up in arms.
Yeah, he's up in arms about that. I used to be on their Sumo team. There's no connection between the CEO and those marketing the product. Oh, okay. Right. Okay. I think very, very quickly, we'll just go through these. I know time is short and I don't want to hold the guests to stay for any length of time longer than we said we would. If you are using Managed WP owned by GoDaddy, they have now forged a relationship with PatchStack. I'll just mention that. You can go and read about that yourself. I don't know if this is the final round, but if you're going to go to WordCamp Asia or have intuitions that you might like to go to WordCamp Asia, the 5th round of speakers has been announced. And then we had the dancing robots already. I'm just going to drop this one and say, make of this what you will. This, just look at that for a minute and parse it. Just take in what you're seeing. And then tell me that, if you needed proof of the existence of God or something like that, this might be it. This is a fossil. Nature made that. And it was found by somebody on a beach. And believe it or not, they found it on the island called Holy Island in Lindisfarne. And that's so obviously somebody's mouth. The human did that. There's no doubt about it. Or the aliens. The aliens left it there. That's probably what happened. Because look, it's got the gums, the pink gum bits, and then the teeth, and then anyway. Apparently not. Apparently it's a fossil. It's on the BBC website. Smiling fossil discovered on Holy Island. Drawn by teenager 2 weeks before with crayon. It doesn't actually say that, but I like the idea. Okay, there we go. That's it. We've run out of time. We've actually overshot the amount of time that we should be giving this show. Thank you to you for joining in the comments. We await the obvious wrestling match between Matt and Remkus. That'll be interesting to see. Maybe we'll bring that to you.
Battle.
The rap battle. That's right. Yeah.
No violence.
No violence. The no violence rap mod wrestling match. That's what I heard.
How about a breakdance competition instead?
Oh, what?
A breakdance competition.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. To be honest with you, what would satisfy me right at this moment, because I've been watching so much of it, is if they both just had a go at curling. Just both
there you go.
Do the bit of curling and see who's the.
I like the idea of I feel that still very much leans more towards Remicus than it does Matt.
Yeah. Okay, we keep yeah. Well, okay. Well, how about my surname is Cromwell battle?
Matt could hire that Australian person who competed in the last Olympics. You remember her? He could hire her
to do the curling, because that would be even
better. To do the curling,
yeah. Breakdancing.
Can do all the moves and then finally release it. I accidentally caught sight of that Australian lady doing whatever that event is. Is it like street dance or something like that?
It's broken dancing what it was.
Yeah. Well,
anyway,
not
breakdancing.
It was on. There was obviously a news article. It was on in a shop that I was in the other day, and I watched it, and it really, even though I know nothing about that event, I have no chops about what's credible and what's not. I was watching it like, it's so weird. It's so bad. Anyway, there we go. Thanks to our team. Patricia says, appreciate it. We'll be back this time next week, I hope. Should be back this time next week. But thank you. I'm just going to go around the houses and say thank you to Tim Nash.
Hello.
There he is. Thank you to Marc Benzakein. It's still like crazy o'clock in the morning over there. Appreciate that.
Nah.
And also to Onar, thank you so much
Thanks
for
for
joining us.
having
Hopefully,
me.
Onar, you'll come back and join us on a less weird episode.
They're
This is
always
gonna-
weird. They're always weird.
They're not as weird.
Don't
This one was
fall
quite
for it.
weird.
Every single episode is weird.
Okay, all right, okay. I
Well, that's
probably
fun.
should
Thanks
rate.
for having
Yeah.
me.
I
I'm
love
glad.
it though. This is what makes this fun, right? It's weird, so
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. And we'll be back this time next week. So if the three of you want to stick around and have a little bit of a natter after this, I would welcome that. But we will see you next week. Thanks for joining us in the comments. Appreciate it. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.